A pleasure to be here. Everybody, stay awake because I'm tired. It's been a long year here. I came to Taiwan 1 year ago, and my mission here is to help building the startup ecosystem. And I'm only one little tiny piece, but I try to do what I can along with David Guo from Taiwan Professional, who works as hard as I do. And then there's Fred Kronig, he's our co-founder from Vienna. And Eric Barr, who is our entrepreneur in residence. He has started 6 companies, 3 of them successful, with 1 bigger exit and 3 flopped. Anyways, to keep you awake, some research. Tech Trends 2012. 30 billion pieces of content are added to Facebook each month. 2 billion videos were watched on YouTube yesterday. 2 billion. 32 billion searches on Twitter. And in terms of mobile-centric applications, 70 billion apps are going to be downloaded. That's why we're all here. There's a lot of opportunity, and it's just the beginning. I was born in Germany, studied law, started a small company that connected with Shanghai, actually, and that brought me to San Francisco. And I spent 15 years in San Francisco at AT&T, worked for a year at Google in 2002, and worked for an investment bank. And then a year ago, I arrived in Taipei. Why? I get this question all the time. To participate in building the startup ecosystem here in Taiwan. And I know there's more to it than just one slide. How do we do it? We'll get to that in a moment. But what are the elements of a startup ecosystem? And the Business Next team, Joy and Winnie, and everybody, Ryan, are just so ambitious in putting together the meetups here and getting some face time for entrepreneurs. And I personally, even a few months ago when I attended the last one, the quality of the pitches is getting a lot better. I almost feel like I am in San Francisco listening, or no, I'm not almost, I feel like I'm in San Francisco. A very, very good quality now, and I think the companies are just getting more and more ambitious here, which is fascinating. But so how do we actually do it at Yushan Ventures? It's simple. 23 million people live in Taiwan. That's really a big market, especially for business to consumer type of startups. So we work with local partners such as Sarah, who hosted us kindly last week at Microsoft, where we launched a new incubation program. And these programs are intended to these startups to start the business here in Taiwan, have the proof of concept here, and then through our resources to go global. That doesn't mean they have to be in 100 countries next year, but it can mean that they pick one country where it makes sense for that product, for that entrepreneur, and that's supported through our network, where we have either representation, partners, connections, so we'll help these companies. At Yushan, we have also, along with David here, brought Startup Weekend, which is a co-founder dating event to Taiwan, where people like in this room who don't have necessarily a business person on the team, a developer, a UI designer, we put them together for 52 hours, and they just experiment, learn the core elements of what it takes actually, like do the research. First you want to validate your business model. You want to ask your customers. You never ask your parents or your friends if this is a good idea, because they will always say yes. They don't want you to argue with them. So it's really important to go out there. We make them do that first. A lot of companies don't do it and just run for a long time sometimes and then eventually hit the wall. So you can do all this in only 54 hours, 52 hours. And Startup Weekend has actually now been in 67 countries in only like 3 or 4 years. Pretty fascinating. And then the push is what we're calling Startup Labs right now. It's a 22-day incubation program where we selected from 200 applications, where 120 came from Taiwan and others from Taiwanese that are studying in other countries or living in other countries. And we selected 5 teams, and they're working very hard right now. And that's one of the reasons we brought Eric here from Vienna. He's sitting with them, and so is Fred, every single day. At the Triple I on Minchong, is that the right way? Minchong? Yeah, right, and on the 14th floor. And we have an open house, and we'd love for you guys, some of them have been there already, to swing by, say hi to the teams, ask them what they're doing, and also give advice. Very important. So that's a 22-day push. We're looking really you can't build a company in 22 days, but you can see how well the team executes. Because we even see that with Startup Weekend, where strangers get together on a Friday evening and come up with a product on Sunday. In some cases, they've raised $4 million within 5 days after Startup Weekend, not in Taiwan though. And then lastly, after the 22 days, we help them with PR, legal, office infrastructure, and we're in the process of looking for some office space to house those 5 teams after the program is over and build a little incubation center. And then we organize Mobile Monday events, that's a little more for business people, that connects the startups with these businesses. And what's really key are the mentors. And when I started putting up these mentors on the website a few weeks ago, I got some criticism. You don't have enough serial entrepreneurs. You don't have enough people there that built and sold companies. Well, we do have quite a few actually, but that's not all we need. Mentors are required from all walks of life. Business people, people that actually have advertising. Look at Christoph Fay. He's like Leo Burnett, he's running the McDonald's account, and he has such valuable feedback for startups, for me as a matter of fact actually, when I spoke with him. And it's very simple. If you run a startup and you ask how will you make money, the first answer is always advertising, mobile advertising. But the reality is you have to have millions of hits to even make $1,000 a month in some cases. So it's not that easy. And this is where these mentors can help. He's never built a company, but he can give very valuable advice, especially at the early stage, and tell people to stop. It's not going to make any sense. Or I connect you with McDonald's. If you are a Wawa bank and you need to get your coupons into the network, come to talk to me. He just took over the McDonald's account. You should call him, and he's actually very interested in those type of opportunities. Funding, of course, we provide funding. Each of those 5 teams were funded with $1 million NT, but before the program starts. And we're incorporating them in Taiwan and in Delaware to open the channel for international money and access. And then, of course, there's professional infrastructure. So we're doing this with events, such as the meet events here for the later stage companies. We're hosting the Mobile Mondays, Startup Weekend, and Startup Labs. And these are our partners. Can't do it alone. And we have the cool team here from Business Next, but also Microsoft has been incredibly helpful. Sarah's in the room, so I can't talk about Google. But David with Taiwan Professional Group. And these are the investments. Those are the 5 teams in Taiwan. We've made 2 investments in Silicon Valley and 1 in Vienna. So we'll connect these. And there's some play between, for instance, Vanello and Gambu. They're doing pretty much the same thing, but a little different. So those things make sense. And I'm sure now you're tired of all that stuff, what we do, but you want to know what's changed, in my opinion, in Taiwan's ecosystem since 2010. I think so much. As I said, the quality of pitches is better. More and more people getting out of the corporate jobs and put teams together and start companies. We thought when I came here there was no co-work space, except for AppWorks, but that's an incubation program. Co-work spaces are more neutral places. Like I love the Living Lab at III. Come and visit us, as I said, open door policy. It's a real cool space, a lot can be done, and the right connections are there. The Trinity Ventures is next door, Digitimes is in the building, the III. That's what you need in order to build an ecosystem. You can't just do it alone in a closed environment. And then we opened, along with NCCU, a co-work space there. And of course, Startup Weekend has entered Taiwan, among some other programs. But what's really, Business Weekly interviewed us a couple of days ago, and he's in Berlin now, the reporter, and he was asking me, why is Berlin so much more successful in startups, as a matter of fact, become the hub in Europe for startups? Why can't Taiwan be like that? He asked me that question. Maybe we look at what's different between Silicon Valley and Taiwan. The ecosystem is number 1. You got the best schools in the world, like Stanford, lots and lots of conferences. We have more and more of those conferences here, but they're more international, there are more conferences. And then you have these many, many large companies where lots of employees quit and start companies, and then they do that because they're either tired of it, want to make more money, but they also have then the connections. They can push the products of their startup back into those companies. There are very, very good research centers and other startups, and they're entrepreneurs, of course. And then lots of legal, I try to find a startup lawyer in Taipei. It's going to be really difficult. and more and more incubation programs. And just go to a coffee shop on Sand Hill Road or in Stanford. If you sit there with a laptop like this and you put your little sticker, and I'm not joking, you put your sticker on the laptop in Cafe Cuba, in Palo Alto, you will get phone calls from venture capitalists because that's a cool place to hang out. And they like to invest in students from Stanford. Why? Why do they prefer to invest in students from Stanford versus I studied in Bielefeld, Germany? The reason is simple. Those schools, unlike the schools in Taiwan, teach entrepreneurship. They actually help to promote the thinking that you need to have as an entrepreneur. Here in Taiwan, students are taught to follow, not to think. Students are taught to work for HTC, otherwise it's a loss of faith for the family. And that's very similar in Germany, where I'm from originally. So that's one of the big differences. The society needs to change the thinking. But how will thinking change? Step by step, right? We need to have more coffee shops, we need to have more investors, and that's another big element what's missing right now. There's more and more money in the very early stage, but the gap between UMC Capital and top VC that's investing $1 million, that gap is still not filled. Yushan Ventures, we're providing $1 million MT, but what happens after that? We will make some follow-on investments, but if the company needs like 3, 4, 5, 600,000, and 5 of those companies, it can't just come from one investor. So there need to be more and more awareness, because the money is here in Taiwan. It's just a question of people are still waiting and looking for the big exit, for the big opportunity. So the ecosystem is different. Networking, such important like this event. Why am I the only, next to Fred here, the only foreign person in this room? There should be a lot more foreigners here, right? We all speak English, and that's so important to exchange ideas and meet people from other parts of the world and not have a rather closed environment. So easy access, culture, willingness to meet and share. Casual 1-hour meetings. People are just a lot more in Silicon Valley, a lot more open, just to like to take a chance on meeting somebody. And then trusted, a lot of introductions are based on recommendation, referrals. And just, there are a lot of like activities you can do. You go to a wine club and you meet other entrepreneurs. They're just kind of everywhere. That's just, no one in the world likes Silicon Valley. And then this is the biggest one, risk. And that's the biggest problem in Taiwan right now. People do not want to take risks. The venture capitalists here only want to invest in profitable companies. Not even users, not even revenues. It needs to be a profitable company. And that's just not how you build companies if you don't take risk. And so what's next year for us? Demo Day. It's going to be by invitation only at Google, Taipei 101. 77th floor. We'll invite investors and media to that event. And Startup Weekend Taiwan #2, also at Google. They're kindly offering the office space for the weekend. We're super excited about that. And I have only 2 minutes left. I want to call Fred here on the stage for any questions you might have.
Fred.
喂，大家好，我名字叫 Fred。然后我们时间已经过了，对不对？
还有2分钟。
所以还有2分钟，我们这2分钟就是给你们，就是要是你们对我们的 program 对预算venture 有问题，我们就非常高兴回答你们的问题。
I do appreciate your ecosystem model to implement in Taiwan and the global market. I don't see you flag your map on the China market.
Right.
That's a reason
Is
for
there
that.
any special reason?
这也是一个问题。我奥地利的朋友常常问我，为什么你会到台湾？为什么不去中国大陆？对我来讲，因为台湾是蛮 developed 的一个国家，然后它的 size 比较 overseeable， 所以我觉得台湾也是像一个 lab 一样。然后对，要是你在大陆要做事， 我觉得在这里做一个proof of concept， 就是一个非常好的 opportunity。我第一次来台湾是20年前，而这个20年前还没有什么高课的，当然已经台湾是已经时间到了，好 ，OK， 好，谢谢。我们
现在可以聊。
对，可以聊，你们还可以在喝茶的地方问我们一些问题，谢谢。